Good evening. My name is Annette Mills, and on behalf of the Energy Action Team of the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition, I would like to welcome you to this evening's program. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's what we'll be doing together during the next hour or so. We will start by explaining why we're offering tonight's program. Then I will introduce our speaker. She will give her presentation, which will last for about a half hour. And then we'll give you a chance to ask questions. And if you would please, during her presentation and after her presentation, if you would use the Q&A icon, just click on that icon at the bottom of your screen and type in your question. That would be great. So don't use the chat, but instead use the Q&A. And then after the Q&A at the close of our program, we will finish up by telling you a little bit about our Shift Together campaign. The work of our Energy Action Team is guided by a vision and goals outlined in the Community Sustainability Action Framework of the Sustainability Coalition and of our community. Our vision is Corvallis has achieved energy security and net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Our goals are to reduce energy consumption, to achieve 100% renewable energy, and no net greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So tonight's presentation on cooking with a sun oven is very closely aligned with our vision and goals, since the power source is the sun. Lorraine will be talking more about the benefits. This spring, the coalition launched a new initiative called Shift Together, and it's a campaign to provide resources and support as we all make the transition toward energy efficiency and renewable energy to make our community livable and healthy for everyone. Whether you are a renter or a landlord, a homeowner, or a business owner, there are opportunities right now to save money and make your life safer and more comfortable. There are both state and federal funds available now, and there will be even more money coming down the pike through the Federal Inflation Reduction Act. Shift Together is here to support you. There are some great resources outlined on our website, sustainablecorvallis.org, resources such as signing up for a free home energy assessment, signing up for a free home retrofit clinic, and also we have a local business person who has been trained as a home energy assessor, and he can give you your home a home energy score and let you know what you can do to make it even better. Also wanted to mention that on Monday, July 31st, our Energy Action Team, in partnership with the Job's Addition Neighborhood Association and the City of Corvallis, we're going to be having a home energy fair in the evening at Franklin Square Park. There will be exhibitors there who can give you all kinds of great information and offer you opportunities for ongoing support. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I would like to introduce our speaker for tonight, Lorraine Anderson, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lorraine. Lorraine is on a mission to mainstream solar cooking in the U.S. She authored Slow Cook Solar, co-authored Cooking with Sunshine, and has edited dozens of books encouraging Earth consciousness, including her own compilations, Sisters of the Earth and Earth and Eros. Lorraine grew up on a free-range chicken ranch in Cupertino, California. She first stumbled across solar cooking at the California State Fair in Sacramento in 1991, and soon started cooking with a homemade box cooker. Now she cooks all her summer meals with sunshine. And I try to do as much as possible. And I'm really looking forward to learning more from Lorraine. Lorraine lives in Corvallis, and you might find her out hiking our local trails. many of which she highlighted in the book, Wild in the Willamette. So welcome, Lorraine. Your turn now.
Thank you so much, Annette. I just think the Shift Together campaign is fabulous. I'm behind you 100%. Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen. So welcome to this talk on cool summer cooking with the sun. We're really at the peak of our solar cooking season in Oregon right now, and we have some very hot days coming up. So this is an especially good time to be talking about this topic. Yeah, so let's get started. So this evening we're going to be talking about what is solar cooking, why cook with sunshine, who can cook with sunshine and when, what can you cook with sunshine, types of solar cookers and how they work, what you need in order to get started, and how to cook with sunshine. And I'm assuming that I'm speaking to an audience of beginners, although I expect that perhaps many of you have cooked with sunshine, but I'm going to start from the very beginning and tell you everything you need to know if you didn't know before about solar cooking. So what is solar cooking? It's cooking food outdoors using only the sun's rays. There's no need for solar panels. So that's what is so amazing to me about this technology is that there's no middleman. You cut out the middleman. It's not the same as having solar panels on your roof and using that to power your electric stove. It just cuts out the whole middleman. And my vision is a solar panel on every roof and a solar cooker in every backyard. Cooking with sunshine is like having an unplugged version of your slow cooker in the backyard. You can bake, boil, steam, stew, and even dehydrate. The only thing you can't do is fry foods. That's not exactly true. You can fry foods with a parabolic cooker. We'll talk about those later, but I don't recommend or teach parabolic cooking because it has its own set of concerns. I'm concerned with cooking with simple box and panel cookers, and you'll see in my photos throughout, I have several different models of cookers, and I'll be telling you about what's available out there. What I love about solar cooking is that it's a natural for cooking seasonal, local, organic, and whole foods. And those are the foods that are best for our health and for also for the planet's health. So why cook with sunshine? More than 2 billion people around the world still cook over open fires. Solar Cookers International is the main organization working in this space. They work with 135 plus countries around the world to provide access to solar cooking because it's such a great alternative to cooking over an open fire. They say that 3 out of 7 people today lack modern fuel to cook food. One solar cooker preserves more than 1 ton of wood every year, reducing deforestation and emissions. And cooking with sunshine also reduces illnesses and injuries associated with smoky cooking fires. Now, this photograph shows a couple of young women who have probably had to walk quite a ways to gather this firewood for their family's cooking fires, which means that they're not in school. So another side effect of providing solar cookers for them is that they can go to school. And if you're familiar with Paul Hawken's project Drawdown, where he catalogs the 100 best solutions to climate change that are available right now, educating women and girls is number 6 in that list of solutions. So you can see that solar cooking has great value in developing countries around the world, but it's not just for developing countries, it's for us too. So everyone has their own favorite reason to cook with sunshine. The food is flavorful, the fuel is free. The fuel actually is nuclear fusion at a safe distance. The emissions are zero, unlike grilling in your backyard. Prep and cleanup are easy. Dishes don't need tending and never burn because they don't get to high enough temperatures. It truly is like cooking in your crock pot. And your kitchen stays cool. So that's a huge plus on these very hot days that are coming up. So myself, I'm a lazy cook. I prefer to spend summer days lounging around, right? Like I do a lot of that. But right here, I'm cooking some salmon in my box cooker, and also I'm cooking some potatoes right there. So it's a lot easier than grilling or cooking indoors because you can set it and forget it. It's better for your pocketbook, saving on the cost of cooking fuel and air conditioning, because when you turn on your stove on a hot day, it heats the kitchen up, and then your air conditioning, if you're lucky enough to have it, works even harder to take the heat out of the house. It's better for your health. So I always see these articles about safer summer grilling that are trying to make the point that you need to be careful when you're grilling meat, because high heat grilling can convert proteins in red meat, pork, poultry, and fish into cancer-causing chemicals. And cancer-causing chemicals are also produced at high cooking temperatures when meat fat drips onto the heat surface and creates smoke that deposits those chemicals onto the meat. So the advice for people who grill is cook meats at lower temperatures for a longer time. Remember, low and slow is the way to go. And low and slow is what you get with a solar cooker just naturally. Solar cooking is better for our climate. These figures are from Solar Cookers International. Over the lifetime of an average solar cooker, more than 7.6 metric tons of CO2 will be prevented from polluting the atmosphere and warming the planet. So I believe that's based on replacing wood as a cooking fuel. But even where grills are the thing that people do outdoors, we can save those emissions too. Plus, cooking at lower temperatures preserves nutrients and brings out flavors. I found this article in the New York Times Magazine a couple of years ago. The best way to cook vegetables, low and slow. That's what you get with solar cooking. According to delish.com, solar ovens are a hot commodity among homesteaders, tiny home dwellers, and those living the van life. They're a safer option for camping than traditional fires and can be used in areas with wildfire burn restrictions. Many models are also easily transported, so they're ideal for emergency use and disaster preparedness. And I ran across this fun fact that last fall, Anheuser-Busch gave out free solar cookers through fire stations because they recognized that most forest fires are caused by humans and their campfires. And Bush does a very good job of marketing campaigns that are really addressing real issues. So this was a great one. I salute them for doing this. So I think that other people who can be convinced to try solar cooking because there are good reasons for them are people who love to cook outdoors. And that's people who grill. And I just read that 70% of US households use grills. So that's a huge proportion of people who obviously love to cook outdoors. But there are certain things you can't do with a grill, like bake potatoes for your potato salad, or boil potatoes for your potato salad, and cook your summer fruit crumble. So if you had a solar cooker next to your grill, you could do that without even having to go indoors and turn on the indoor oven. Busy moms who love their crock pots, since it translates so easily from crock pot cooking. It's very much the same thing. So yeah, easy to make a dinner, and teach your children to do it too. Gardeners who know that growing your own food is like printing your own money. That's a favorite phrase from Gangsta Gardener Ron Finley's website. Ron Finley lives in South Central Los Angeles and is known as the Gangsta Gardener. He's empowering people in that food desert to grow their own food. And I'm very excited to say that today I just sent a copy of my book, and a solar cooker is going to Ron Finley. Today it's being shipped. Yay! So I'm hoping that he'll be promoting solar cooking among his gardeners, and that urban farmers all over the US will take notice. Also, solar cooking for everyone who takes climate change seriously, because eating a diet of plant-rich foods and cooking it with sunshine is a delicious way to reduce your carbon footprint. I love it because it's an easy way to start taking steps when we all feel like, what in the world could I do? It's an alarming situation we're in with the climate crisis. And it takes a while to save up for solar panels or to save up for an electric vehicle, but a solar cooker is quite affordable and is a step that you can take right now, at least in the summertime. So who can cook with sunshine and when? So you can cook with sunshine if you live between the 60th parallels of latitude on planet Earth. And that's just about anywhere on Earth, except for way up near the Arctic Circle in the northern Scandinavian countries and Greenland. We live right about at the 45th parallel. It turns out that the closer you are to the equator, the longer solar cooking season you have. But at our latitude and in Seattle, Boston, Minneapolis, and New York, we can cook during the summer months. So you can also cook with sunshine if your cooker remains unshaded for at least 4 hours between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. So obviously you need a sunny day. You can't cook during the rain, and probably not during the winter for us, because your shadow has to be no longer than your height. That has to do with how high the sun is in the sky. And at summer solstice, it's the very highest in the sky, and then it starts to go lower in the sky as the months wear on toward the winter solstice. So I try to cook with sunshine between about May 15th and September 15th, but that season could be extended. And only on sunny days. Although on a partly cloudy day, if your cooker's getting at least 20 minutes of sun per hour, you can cook with sunshine. We'll talk a little bit more about that, because that has to do with food safety. We'll get to that later. So Solar Cookers International has identified more than 4 million solar cookers in the world, directly impacting more than 14 million people. So you can see that India and China are huge users of solar cookers. They're quite common there. Africa is also a big user. I'm amazed at the number of solar cookers in Europe and even up into the Scandinavian countries, the southern part of the Scandinavian countries at least. In North America, of course, there's a cluster in the Southwest here, but amazingly, well, there's a lot of cookers in Minneapolis, because these dots are proportional to the number of cookers that were reported. This is all self-report data. Luther Kruger in Minneapolis is collecting solar cookers for a museum. So there's a huge dot over Minneapolis, and there's a dot in Oregon, and that's me. I reported having 6 solar cookers. I know there are many more, but not everybody tunes in to Solar Cookers International. But that just gives you an idea. It's quite widespread. And I would say that the US lags the rest of the world in solar cooker uptake. And that's why I'm on a mission, and I'm a solar cooker evangelist. So what can you cook with sunshine? The short answer: anything you can cook in a slow cooker, plus more. The longer answer: you can bake bread, cook fruits and vegetables. As Annette mentioned, beans and grains. You can also cook eggs and cheese, poultry and meat, and seafood. I just hard-boiled eggs for the first time in my solar cooker last week to put in my potato salad. They took about 4 hours, and they're very tender, but they're done. So it's possible. I'm going to show you just a selection of the foods that I've cooked in my solar cookers. I have a number of different solar cookers, which I'll be telling you about. And these are all recipes that I've tested and have included in my book, Slow Cook Solar. So this is just to give you an idea of the broad range of tasty dishes that you can cook. So applesauce oat bread. So you can cook a variety of different kinds of breads with sunshine, including, this is a quick bread. It's gluten-free, made with oats. I've also cooked yeast breads that rise, and flatbreads, cornbread, scones too. Chipotle red pepper bisque. So I became really fond of cold soups in the summer because it's a great way to use a lot of vegetables, especially when they're coming in the garden. Like, I was just looking at my tomatoes, and pretty soon I'm going to have a lot of tomatoes on my hands. So with cold soups, you can cut up a lot of vegetables and cook them in the solar cooker all day long. And then you'll add a few finishing touches like olive oil and vinegar and some flavorings and blend them up. And they make a really nice first course or even a main course with a salad and some bread. Beluga lentil salad with smoked trout. So salads are a great thing to eat in the summer, and there's all sorts of ingredients that you can prepare with a solar cooker, like lentils. Sweet potatoes are another favorite. Beets, as Annette mentioned, cooking beets. What else? Regular potatoes, grain-based salads like brown rice, quinoa, yeah, all those. Adobo potato salad, that's probably my favorite recipe for solar cooking because potatoes come out so creamy and perfectly done, and it couldn't be easier. You just throw them in the cooker and leave them all day, and then they're ready to peel or not peel and put in a potato salad. I have a whole section in the cookbook on bowls because bowls are complete meals in themselves and pretty easy to assemble with ingredients that you've cooked in the solar cooker. This one, Parmesan spinach polenta bowl. Polenta can cook in the cooker all day long, no stirring needed. It comes out beautifully. And then if you fold in a little bit of spinach at the end of the cooking when the polenta is hot, and then you can use your cherry tomatoes, which are going wild in the garden. Starting right now, I just picked my first cherry tomatoes. Quiches are great in the solar cooker, pear and gorgonzola quiche. The only difference from cooking indoors is that pastry crusts don't come out so well because the oven temperature doesn't get high enough. So either you can cook a quiche without a crust, or you can use some kind of innovative crust such as tortillas, or in this case, I think I used walnuts for this crust. ZT baked with 3 cheeses and fresh herbs. So pasta amazingly cooks in the solar cooker. You don't have to boil it in water first. You just put dry pasta in, but you have to have a sauce that's got enough liquid that the pasta will take up the liquid and become soft. A friend came over and baked this in her solar cooker in my backyard on the 4th of July. We had this dish and it came out beautifully. Sweet potato and black bean enchilada casserole. Instead of making enchiladas individually, I've learned to just make a casserole because it's all the same when you cut it up to eat it, right? It tastes the same as if you were making individual enchiladas. This one is a 2-step casserole because you cook the sweet potato rounds for an hour or so to get them a little soft before you put the casserole together, and then you cook the casserole to melt the cheese. And chicken enchilada casserole, again, a 2-step process. You cook the chicken breasts for an hour or 2, and then you put the casserole together and bake the casserole. So this is a meal that I made when company came for dinner. Quinoa tabbouleh made in the solar cooker, beet salad with walnuts and goat cheese. So that's the beets being cooked in the solar cooker. And then the salmon for sesame salmon, orange, and avocado salad. To be honest, I think it took me about 2 days to assemble this meal because I cooked the quinoa the day before, maybe the beets the day before, and then cooked the salmon the day of. And then for dessert, black bean brownies or Mexican chocolate pudding. This Mexican chocolate pudding recipe uses tofu. You melt the chocolate chips in the solar cooker, and it's easier to put together that way than doing it on the stovetop. I adapted this recipe from one by Mark Bittman in the New York Times. It's a delicious recipe that comes out beautifully using the solar cooker. So types of solar cookers and how they work. Basically, there are 4 types of solar cookers. There are panel cookers, box cookers, parabolic cookers, and evacuated tube cookers. The advanced panel cooker and the advanced box cooker are just variations on that theme. But the first cookers were box cookers. In the 1990s, Solar Cookers International figured out how to make a panel cooker to use fewer materials and make it more accessible to more people. The parabolic dish is kind of tricky. That's the one where you can fry. The sun is focused on the focal point where the pot is, and it reaches very high temperatures. But the problem with that for me is that you have to actively tend what you're cooking because it's frying. And so that means that you have to stand in the very hot sun. And I'm not into that. I'm into sitting in the shade while the food cooks in the sun. And the evacuated tube grills, I have not tried one. Their versatility is limited by that tube that you slide in and out. That's where you put the food. I think they're handy for camping, and I'll show you one of those later that's for sale online. So how they work, they focus the sun's rays on dark cookware, and that turns the sunlight into heat. So you have had the experience of getting into a car on a sunny day, and the car is very hot. It's much hotter than the air outside often. That's because the sunlight enters the car, is absorbed by the materials and turned into heat. And then the glass windows keep it from escaping. So it's the same principle with the solar box and panel cookers. Panel and box cookers work the same way. The heat is trapped in a cooking bag in the panel cooker. You use a turkey cooking bag around a dark pot in the panel cooker, or the heat is trapped in the insulated box. It's held in by the pane of glass. Again, a key part of both of these is the dark pot. That's really the key. So food cooks at 180 degrees. Simple box and panel cookers reach 200 to 275 degrees. More elaborate, the advanced box cookers, such as the one that Annette has, reach 325, maybe 350, maybe more. By comparison, food in a crock pot reaches a maximum temperature at or just below the boiling point, 212, sooner if set on high, later if set on low. So in this photo, there's a box cooker in the foreground and a panel cooker in the background, and I use both at the same time. So what you'll need if you want to get started solar cooking, you'll need a spot that stays in sunshine for at least 4 hours a day. And you can be very creative about that. If you have a very shady backyard, you might have a sunny driveway where you could put your cooker. You could put it on the roof if you have access to your roof. And a reminder that if you have nothing but shade around your house, there are public parks where you could conceivably go and spend a nice afternoon cooking your dinner in your solar cooker in the park where there's sunshine. Okay, so you need a solar cooker and dark cookware. So now we're going to talk about solar cookers. Which cooker is right for you? So the panel cooker is great for beginners. It's less expensive and it requires little storage space. The box oven can reach higher temperatures. It's more expensive and it requires more storage space. So there's some trade-offs there. I started with a panel cooker and I folded it up every night to store. It folds flat, can be stored inside. After I'd been cooking with sunshine for a number of years, I bought a box cooker. I'll show you more about that. And then since then, I've collected a variety of kinds of cookers just to test them and to see, to test the recipes for my book, basically. You can make your own cooker. Solar cookers, how to make, use, and enjoy can be downloaded free from solarcooking.org, plans.pdf. So solarcooking.org is the solar cooking wiki. And there's an amazing variety of resources on there, plans for many different kinds of solar cookers. That particular booklet you can download and it has some plans for solar cookers. This photograph was taken in 2008. I taught solar cooking through the OSU Saturday Academy, and these young people made these solar cookers on that sunny Saturday in May. And I was just thinking, that was 15 years ago, so these young people are probably approaching age 30, and I'm just curious if they're still cooking with sunshine. I hope they are. Or you can buy a solar cooker online. I think it shows that solar cookers have really arrived, that bestreviews.com is reviewing them every year. So this is what Best Reviews has to say about the variety of solar cookers that are available. The inexpensive solar ovens cost $100 or less. Mid-range from $150 to $250. The more expensive ones are $250 to, I think, around $500 now. You'll find larger box cookers that may come with extras such as a pot, a thermometer, or other accessories. So these ovens are capable of higher temperatures and can often be used to cook several dishes at once. I'm going to show you a selection of some of my favorite cookers. This is not by any means all of the cooker models that are available. These are just ones that I've tried and I like. So the Copenhagen solar cooker is the most affordable cooker out there. It's $55 at Our Sun Cooks. It assembles easily. It folds into a flat square. It's basically made of 4 petals of plastic that clip together and can be adjusted according to where the sun is in the sky. And it cooks everything that's in my cookbook. The Cookit panel cooker, this is the one that was developed by Solar Cookers International. It's, if you can, when it's available, it's $77.50 at solarcookers.org, but it's temporarily unavailable. I'm not sure that they're going to keep producing it. Solar Cookers International seems to come in and out of keeping that going. And so if you're lucky enough to have one, you're lucky. Or if you see one at a garage sale, snag it. It's a good cooker. It's made out of cardboard. And I used one for 10 years. At the end, I'm very careful. I folded it up every evening and put it inside so it wouldn't get soggy with the dew. But at the end of those 10 years, it was taped together with duct tape, but it still worked. It cooks, so which is kind of amazing. The Sol Cook all-season solar cooker. This is a very rugged solar cooker. It's notable because you can angle the reflective panels there to scoop the maximum number of hours of sunlight during the day and to lengthen the solar cooking season. Once you put it up, very rugged, works great. You use an oven bag, or in this case, there are two Pyrex bowls, one on top of the other, making the space where the dark cookware goes. That works great. The Haynes Sun Up solar cooker and Dutch oven kit. So this is a kit. It includes the dark Dutch oven, and that's available for less than $100 on Amazon or from HaynesSolarCookers.com. This is one of my favorite cookers because it's lightweight, very portable. It rolls up and goes in a yoga mat bag, and it has a standoff that keeps the cooking pot off the bottom. It holds the cooking pot up off the bottom of the cooker so that warm air can circulate, and it has a plastic cover that has cracks around the edges. So if you're cooking something uncovered like brownies, they release steam and it doesn't steam up that cover. The steam escapes around the edges. That's a great advantage. The Sunflare Portable Solar Oven Deluxe, a little more expensive on Amazon. It folds up like a seat cushion. It's very portable. This is a cooker that we tried out on July 4th. It comes with these silicone pots. I'm not quite sure about them. I think in general they're considered safe for cooking, but I don't think there's definitive evidence. Anyway, and that cooker reaches maybe 220. It's not going to get really very hot. The SOS Solivore Sport. I love this cooker. It was manufactured for a few years. Now it's not being manufactured anymore. It was made from recycled pop bottles, and two cooking pots fit side by side in there, which makes it so convenient. If you see it at a garage sale, snag it. And here's one of those evacuated tube cookers, the Go Sun Go. Again, limited versatility because of the drawer that you have to put the food into, but for camping, yeah. The Suntae Solar Oven, it's a beautiful, very elegant solar cooker insulated with a renewable resource, cork. It's expensive, but it cooks beautifully, gets to high temperatures. And this is the All-American Sun Oven. This is the one that Annette cooks with, and it reaches those higher temperatures, and it's a tank. It's going to last for a lifetime. The cookware, so important. It has to be dark. Thin and shallow are best. The lids need to fit well, but can be clear glass. This is the single best all-around cooking vessel, the Granite Ware 3-quart roaster. It checks all the boxes. It's dark, it's thin, it's shallow, and it's very versatile. I use it to cook a lot of different things. Quiches, bread. This is the ingredients for a soup. Dark stoneware and cast iron also work. They take longer to heat up, but also hold the heat longer. So, how to cook with sunshine. Ralph Waldo Emerson is our guide. Do not be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. So think crock pot and prep your food the night before or the morning of the meal you're preparing. Get your food in the cooker early and point the cooker to where the sun will be at noon. The prime solar cooking hours are 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., so be sure to catch those hours for the harder to cook foods. Remember that simple box and panel cookers typically reach 200 to 275 degrees, so the easy to cook foods take 1 to 2 hours. Fish, chicken, egg and cheese dishes, white rice, fruit, and above ground vegetables. The moderately hard to cook foods take 3 to 4 hours, and that's bread, brown rice, root vegetables, lentils, most meat, and brownies. And the hardest to cook foods, I would actually put root vegetables in there. They can use more time, beets and potatoes and carrots, large roasts, soups and stews, and most dried beans. Your temperatures may vary, so cooking times are always approximate. And the temperatures your cooker reaches don't depend on the ambient air temperature. They depend on several other things: the type of cooker you're using, the type of cooking vessel, the angle of the sun, how close you are to the equator, the time of day, and how often you re-aim your cooker towards the sun's rays. You can shorten cooking times by turning the cooker every half hour to face the sun. Some dishes need closer tending than others, but you never need to stir anything. Remember to use pot holders because those pots are hot. So the food safety talk. Food should not be left at room temperature in the danger zone between 40 and 140 degrees F for more than 2 hours. One of the original pioneers of solar cooking with Solar Cookers International is a microbiologist, Bob Metcalf. And so you better believe that solar cooking is safe. And he says it's safe to put raw, refrigerated, or frozen food, even chicken or other meat, in a solar cooker in the morning, several hours before the sun begins to cook it. The food remains cold enough to prevent germ growth until the sun starts to heat the cooker. And then the food heats up quickly to 160 degrees where food pasteurizes. So the main thing to be concerned about is if your food sits in the cooker for too long after the sun leaves the box. It shouldn't be allowed to sit for more than 2 hours. And on a partly cloudy day where you're not getting enough sun to hold the temperatures high, you might want to just take it inside and finish cooking indoors. So just before we finish, I wanted to show you one recipe, a sample recipe from Slow Cook Solar, a very simple starter recipe to cook right from your garden. When the green beans start coming in, you can make them into green bean pesto. Here's the recipe. So into the cooker, 2 cups of green beans that have been trimmed and cut into 1-inch lengths, and you cook that for 2 to 3 hours until it's tender, and bring it inside, and then you're going to blend it up with toasted pecan pieces, avocado oil, salt, and garlic. And it's delicious on crackers or flatbread of any kind. You'll see if you go to my website, slowcooksolar.com, you can download a recipe sampler with 6 easy starter recipes. This is one of them. So try adapting your own favorite recipes. Crock pot or slow cooker recipes work well. To adapt a conventional recipe, adjust the cooking time and the amount of liquid. So it takes about twice as long to bake in a solar cooker and uses a little less liquid than a conventional oven. Maya says, relax. Dinner's in the solar cooker. So start simple and don't give up. Remember, it's all just an experiment. For more recipes and information about solar cooking and solar cookers, you can visit my website, slowcooksolar.com. I should also mention that I'm demonstrating solar cooking at the Corvallis Farmers Market this coming Saturday, the 15th, from 9 till 1. I'm going to be baking beet and zucchini brownies. I will be back at the Corvallis Market on August 19th. And a week from this Saturday on July 22nd, I'll be teaching a class, Cooking with Sunshine from the Garden, at the Peaceful Valley Farm and Garden Supply in Albany. So I'll turn it back over to you, Annette.
All right. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Really appreciate it. I've been cooking with a solar oven for over 20 years, and I picked up quite a few tips from you that I really appreciate. And I have to say, when I bought my solar oven back in 1999, it definitely wasn't as expensive as it is now, but it really is a good model. It works very well. And so I see we've got 3 questions in the Q&A, and hopefully others will add their questions. I know I have several that came up. The first question is from Marge Stevens, who asks, is solar cooking okay for a dense food like stuffed peppers?
Absolutely. Stuffed peppers are a great recipe to cook in the solar cooker. It would probably take 4 to 6 hours in the solar cooker, but absolutely a very good way to cook them.
Okay, great. And Marge is the one who got the neighborhood empowerment grant for us to be able to have a home energy fair over at Franklin Park on Monday, July 31st. And so Lorraine is going to be there as well, along with a number of other exhibitors, helping people out with using fewer fossil fuels, or in the case of a son of a, none at all. Yeah. All right. So the next question is from Juliana Maynor. She said, that's very exciting. Do you share the information you are sharing here in your book along with the recipes?
Yes, yes, absolutely. There's an introduction to solar cooking, how it works, and there are write-ups about some of my favorite solar cookers with links to where you can buy them.
All right. That's really helpful. Great. And Gary Rogers is asking, are the box ovens black inside?
Yeah, they are
I-
black inside. Good point. That
yeah. Yeah.
that absorbs the rays of sunshine and turns them into heat. So that's an adjunct to the black pot for sure. Thank you.
Right. I was going to say my sun oven is definitely black inside. And like Lorraine said, it gets hot in there. So oftentimes my husband will go out with the two pot holders and bring the pot inside when I'm thinking it's probably going to be done. And one of the things that we put our sun oven out in our garden area, and usually turn it several times, so it's getting the maximum sun. But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
I
black helps. Yeah.
that's a good thing to do, but it's not as absolutely essential. And as I say, I'm a very lazy cook, so I don't do that. I just put it out, pointed toward where the sun will be at noon, and let the the sun go over and do its thing.
Yeah, right. Okay, now another question. Here's one from Jim LaJoy. Do you dehydrate veggies with a solar cooker?
So
Interesting question.
yeah, thank you, Jim. Thanks for being here. I have not tried that. I haven't gotten around to dehydrating in the solar cooker. What do you think? Have you done it? Jim invented that lovely Soul Cook all season solar cooker.
Ah,
Very rugged
okay.
model.
Okay, great. Interesting. I've wondered that myself too. We've never tried it, but it seems like it would work.
It seems like it would. I'm not sure about the fact that when you're dehydrating something, of course, the moisture is leaving it, and so you might have a problem with the window of the solar cooker fogging up. So you'd have to find a way around that. I think the dehydrators are open so that the moisture evaporates into the air, um, but I'm sure there's a way around that.
Yeah, interesting. Here's a question from Lynn Ann Scalzi, who asks, this has been an awesome presentation. I am so inspired by my wonderful sister-in-law. So that wasn't a question, that was kudos to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn Ann. And I believe that you have one of Jim Lajoie's solar cookers in Mexico. And I'm looking forward to hearing how that works out for you.
Great. All right, here's another question from Juliana. She said, I have dogs. I will need to place the solar cooker on top of a table. Is any surface okay to place it? Thank you.
Yes, you don't have to worry about the outside of the solar cooker getting hot. So you can place it on any surface. My partner Phil built me a nice wooden table to put it on top of. I sometimes use that. Sometimes I just put it on the ground. Um, and I have also found that dogs, I think, are pretty smart about not bothering something that they sense is hot. So that might be less of a problem than you think, but it is nice to raise it up to save your back, say. And my partner Phil and I talked about getting an old barbecue grill from from Habitat for Humanity used store and putting the solar cooker on top of that. So there's all sorts of things that you could do to raise it up off the ground.
That's great. Let me see, do we have any other questions here? Gary again asks, can the cover be plastic instead of glass?
Yes, the cover of the Solivor Sport is plastic. Yes. And what about the sun oven, Annette? Is that
Mine is glass.
glass?
Yeah, it's a glass cover. Yeah, and I have to say I don't keep it as clean and wiped off as I need to. Probably, I'll bet it would get even hotter if I would do a better job of keeping it clean.
Yeah,
But,
I keep
yeah.
a rag out there to wipe the pollen off and the dust off. But yeah, the Solivor Sport plastic. Yep.
Okay, good. And Jim, I think, is answering one of the questions here. He says, when dehydrating, I do not use a cover. No condensation. Cover the produce with cheesecloth and put a black fry pan below the dehydrating rack. This creates the heat, which rises up and removes the moisture. Very clever. I'm impressed.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really great.
Yeah, so don't use a cover. Cover the produce with cheesecloth, put a black fry pan below the dehydrating rack. I'm reading that a second time just so I can remember it. And I have some questions for you, Lorraine, primarily about what I can use to put the ingredients in before I place it in my sun oven, because I almost always use that black pot like you had in your photograph. But because I haven't baked, I was wondering, like, how would I do, I mean, can I put like bread into my glass loaf pan or into an 8-inch square glass pan and just put that in the solar oven? Will that work?
Yes, I think even if they're not dark pans, you could try it, because since the inside of the oven is dark and it heats up. Yeah, I've cooked bread in the Dutch oven that comes with that's the Sun Up Haynes solar cooker. I've cooked bread, and that's a big round Dutch oven. Or I've found a dark loaf pan that I've cooked bread in. You can cook bread in the graniteware 3-quart roaster.
Oh, okay.
A round loaf, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
go ahead.
I have a dark brownie pan that I make so-called biscuits in, and bars and brownies. That's very versatile, a 7x11 brownie pan.
Oh, okay. And then I was very taken by your beautiful photographs of the food, but especially the pudding that you were showing. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a chocolate.
Mexican chocolate pudding.
Mexican chocolate. So they looked so well formed. And I was wondering, did you cook them in those containers that you served them in, or how did you get them looking so nice if you cooked them in a single pot?
So this kind of pudding, all you have to do is you melt the chocolate chips with some water and stevia or erythritol. I don't use cane sugar. And stevia works fine because it's, some people don't like the taste, but in this chocolate pudding, the Mexican chocolate pudding uses cinnamon and chili powder. So that kind of disguises the stevia taste. But all you have to do is melt the chocolate chips with the water and sweetener in your graniteware roaster, and then take it inside, and then you're going to blend it with tofu in the blender, put it into the individual custom dishes, and those go in the fridge.
Okay.
So it looks so neat.
Got it.
And it's
all right.
Delicious. That's such a great recipe.
Okay. Well, we've gotten a couple more questions here or comments. Jim. Sorry, Jim, I pronounced your last name incorrectly the first time. Jim Lejoie, is that right? The sun oven works a lot like a normal oven. Dark cookware helps, but the sun oven is very oven-like. So, okay, so I could use my glass pans, but it's probably going to take a little bit longer. Yeah. And then Heather Michaels has asked, how well would you say the DIY cookers work? I'm excited to buy one, but also impatient, so may want to make one as well.
Well, the DIY cookers work amazingly well. And the first cooker that I used after my then partner Rick and I went to the state fair in California and saw the solar cooker, we went right home and we made our own cooker out of 2 cardboard boxes, insulated it with crumpled up cardboard. We put a pane of glass on the top, aluminum foil on the reflector, and we used that solar cooker for 10 years. And we wrote a cookbook, Cooking with Sunshine, and we tested the recipes in that cooker. So DIY cookers work amazingly well, even the simplest panel cookers.
Well, that's great. That's great to know. So I'm looking at my clock. It says it's 7:57, and I wanted to make just some closing remarks, but first and foremost, wanted to thank you so much, Lorraine. I can't wait to go out and buy your book, and I understand it's available at Grassroots. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So,
Thank you.
yeah, if I could share the screen just one more time here. For those who came to the program late, I just wanted to mention that our Shift Together campaign is designed to provide resources and support as we all make the transition toward energy efficiency and renewable energy. And this is going to make our community more livable and healthy for everybody. And let's see, I wanted to mention again that we have resources on our website, sustainablecorvallis.org, that talk about a lot of different ways that people can be assisted in educational materials as well as support. You can sign up for a free home energy assessment or an individualized home retrofit clinic, or we have a community member who has been trained as a home energy assessor, and he can really go into depth giving your home energy score. And then wanted to make sure everybody knows about the Home Energy Fair, and Lorraine will be there along with a number of other exhibitors on Monday, July 31st, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at Franklin Square Park. So just wanted to say thank you again to Lorraine, and really, really appreciate that all of you came and joined us today. So there's still a little bit of sunshine out there, sunlight remain. So hope you have a lovely rest of your evening. And thanks again.